You check your bank account on a Sunday night, and the number looks fine. Not great, but fine. You paid your bills. You bought your groceries. You maybe treated yourself once or twice. And yet, somehow, at the end of every month, there is less money than you expected. You don't know where it went. You never do. Here's the thing. It didn't disappear. You spent it. And the reason you keep spending it the same way, month after month, year after year, is because of one budgeting mistake so common that most financial experts say it's the single biggest barrier standing between ordinary people and real financial progress. It doesn't look like a mistake. That's what makes it so expensive. The mistake is this. You're budgeting what's left over instead of what matters first. Most people approach a paycheck the same way. Money comes in. Bills get paid. You spend on whatever comes up. And if anything is left at the end of the month, you save it, or invest it, or put it toward a goal. That's the plan. The problem is that nothing is usually left. Not because you didn't earn enough, but because human beings are psychologically incapable of saving what they can still see and touch. Behavioral economist Richard Thaler, who won the Nobel Prize in economics in 2017, spent decades studying how people actually make financial decisions. His research showed that money sitting in a checking account gets mentally categorized as money available to spend. You don't think of it as savings. Your brain thinks of it as a buffer, and buffers get used. Every time. This is sometimes called the leftover savings trap. You plan to save. You intend to save. But your intention goes up against 1,200 small decisions across the month. A coffee here, a delivery fee there, a streaming service you forgot you subscribed to. And by day 28, the intention has lost. The number at the bottom of your account is smaller than it should be, and you genuinely cannot explain why. Now here's where it gets counterintuitive. The fix isn't tracking your spending. The fix isn't cutting out coffee. The fix isn't downloading another budgeting app and color-coding your categories for the 4th time this year. All of those things address the symptom. The actual problem is the sequence. You are putting your future self last when your future self should come first. This is the core principle behind what personal finance author David Bach called the pay yourself first system, a concept so simple it sounds obvious until you realize almost nobody actually does it. The idea is that the moment your paycheck arrives, before you pay rent, before you buy groceries, before you do anything else, a fixed amount moves automatically to savings or investment. Not what's left. What you decided matters. First, when you flip the sequence, something strange happens. Your brain recalibrates. The money that remains in your checking account, the smaller amount, is now what your brain registers as your spending budget. And human beings are remarkably good at adapting to what they believe they have. Studies consistently show that people who automate savings before spending adjust their lifestyle to match their remaining income within 1 to 2 months, almost without noticing. But here's what most people never stop to calculate. What does delaying this actually cost you? Let's say you're 25 years old. You earn a decent salary, and you keep telling yourself you'll start saving seriously once things settle down. Once you get a raise, once the car is paid off, once life gets a little less hectic. So you wait 5 years. You start at 30 instead of 25. You save the same amount, the same way, for the same number of years. How much does that 5-year delay cost you? According to compound interest calculations based on historical average market returns of roughly 7% annually, a person who starts investing $500 a month at 25 will accumulate approximately $1.3 million by age 65. The person who waits until 30, saving the same $500 a month at the same return rate, ends up with around $900,000. The 5-year delay, the 5 years of waiting for things to settle down, costs nearly $400,000. Not because you spent it, because it never got the chance to grow. That number is what the budgeting mistake actually costs. Not the coffee, not the takeout, the sequence, the delay, the assumption that your future self will handle it. Now you might be thinking, $500 a month sounds like a lot. What if you can't afford that? And this is where the second layer of the mistake appears, because most people dramatically overestimate how much they need to save and dramatically underestimate the impact of starting small. Research from Fidelity Investments suggests that saving even 1% of your income, just 1%, and automatically increasing that by 1% each year is enough to meaningfully shift your long-term financial position. The amount matters less than the automation and the sequence. Getting the system right first is more valuable than getting the number perfect. Think about the way a subscription service works. Netflix charges you on the same day every month, whether you've watched anything or not. The payment isn't a choice you make in the moment. It's a commitment you made once, and now it runs in the background of your life without requiring your attention or your willpower. Your savings should work exactly the same way. A standing order, an automatic transfer, a decision made once, set up correctly, and then largely forgotten. This is also why traditional budgeting methods fail so many people. Systems that require you to make the right financial decision repeatedly, every week, in every store, on every evening when you're tired and stressed and just want to order food, are fighting against human nature. You only have so much decision-making energy. And the research, including work by psychologist Roy Baumeister on what he called ego depletion, shows that the more decisions you make throughout a day, the worse your judgment gets by the evening. Every impulse purchase you've ever made probably happened late in the day. That's not a coincidence. That's your brain running low on willpower. Systems beat willpower. Every time. So what does a corrected system actually look like in practice? The first step is to decide, right now, on a fixed percentage of your income that goes to savings before anything else. Financial planners often suggest starting with 10% if you can, or 5% if you can't yet, or even 1% if that's where you are. The number matters less than the commitment. Pick a number. Write it down. The second step is to automate it. Contact your bank or employer payroll department and set up an automatic transfer that moves that amount out of your main account on the same day your paycheck arrives. If the money moves before you see it, you won't miss it in the same way. Out of sight is genuinely out of mind, and in this case, that's exactly what you want. The third step is to leave the rest alone. You don't need to obsessively track every category. You don't need to justify every purchase. The savings are handled. The future is funded. What remains is yours to spend, and spending it without guilt is actually part of the system working correctly. The people who build real wealth over time are not, in most cases, people who earn extraordinary incomes. They are people who set the sequence right early and then didn't touch it. They automated the most important decision and let time do the rest. That is the whole system. It is not complicated, but it requires you to stop doing the one thing most people never question, leaving your savings for last. Every month you check your account and wonder where the money went. You are experiencing the cost of the wrong sequence. The money didn't disappear. It just never got the chance to stay. Fix the sequence. Automate the commitment. Let the math work in your direction instead of against it. Because the real budgeting mistake was never about what you spent. It was always about what you decided to keep and when.